Hi, everyone. Welcome to Read and Written Words of Color. We are actually also live. So as I'm talking here, this is your friends and family who you directed to the website will be seeing your reading. So first we're going to kick off with a few announcements, and then we're going to talk about what's going to happen for the next 2 hours. Okay, so these announcements are also on the Yap app, and you should have received some emails. The first one is that we are open for membership at the Grotto, and it's from December 1st. Actually, it's not open until December 1st to the 31st. And to learn more about it, you can go onto the website that we sent you. The second thing is that we have a space still available for a writing retreat at a Strauss Home Ranch. So it's a retreat that Heather organized. She's right there in the back. She organized this, and a whole bunch of us are going to be going, and it's a writing retreat. There's a lot of information, and we emailed it to you. There are 8 spaces left, and including one that is, was fully funded. So if you need to talk to her, you can either talk to her in person, she's the one standing in the back, or you can email her at the email address that we've sent to you through the email. It's a retreat, a writing retreat. So a writing retreat is usually they're different. And so when? Oh, it's going to be in November, December 10th. Yeah.
Our pool is from everywhere, south, east, west, north. It's $40 a day. There's probably going to be Strauss ice cream with saucer one.
That's always good. I know it makes up for it. Yes. Yep. So if you have any questions, like I said, talk to Heather or email her directly. The last thing is in the same email that we sent for the writing retreat, we also sent you a survey regarding this year's conference. So please make sure that you fill that out and then send that in as soon as you can. And your instructors may remind you after the conference ends. And that's it for the announcements. I'm going to get started in the readings. Okay, so this is kind of the key to success for last year's reading. So we're going to share this with everybody. We've got roughly 40 people reading, and we want to make sure that everybody has equal time up here. So what's going to happen is we're going to call everyone to come up by your genre, and you will all come up and stand right here in roughly the order that you will be reading. And then the first one will come up, say your name, the title of your piece, and then the timer, yes, we will have a timer, will start the moment you start reading. And when it goes off, it's to gently remind you to finish that sentence, that line, and let the next person come. And then you'll just come and go to the other side. And for the audience, what I'd like you to do, because of course all the readings are going to be fantastic, is hold your applause. But if you would like to show appreciation, do a little like cool snip snap, like that. Really fast. And then we'll have until the last person has read, then we'll have them all come back. Huge round of applause, thunderous applause for the amazing readings. And then we'll have the faculty, the core faculty for the class come up, and we'll do a quick class photo. All right.
Okay, cool. We're back on.
We're back on.
Hi, my name is Danica, and I'm part of the essay cohort. And the title of my piece is, I answered this question in an interview last year when I was asked, when did you feel you had made it as a writer? So this is what I said. Some months ago, I traveled back to China, where my family is from, to see my grandfather, who is very sick. I took 2 connecting overnight flights and about 30 hours to get there. At the immigration gate, in the course of scrutinizing my passport and entry forms, the Chinese immigration officer asked me about what I did for a living. Without thinking, I'd barely slept on the plane and I was exhausted. I said I was a writer and a lawyer. I guess it was the wrong answer. The officer frowned, flicking through my forms and passport. After a moment, she asked me to wait. She said they had to double check my paperwork. Surprised, I asked why. She demurred. She handed my papers off to another male officer who strode away to locations unknown. The female officer told me to stand to the side and called the next traveler over to her stand. So I waited for the next 30 minutes, silently freaking out. I was exhausted and I had never been stopped like this before, so my mind went to some unpleasant places. After half an hour had passed, the male officer came back with my passport and forms. The woman officer conferred in undertones with him, then stamped my passport with a cursory thump. She looked at me for a moment. Then she said, "You're fine to enter the country." I asked again why they'd had to check my papers when they'd let everyone in before me and after me without a problem. The woman officer didn't answer. She just waved me through, looking annoyed. Who knows why they kept me, even for such a brief time? It could have had something to do with my being a writer, or it could have had nothing to do with it at all. Afterward, though, thinking through the event, I realized that one of the possible readings of the interaction was that I was stopped because I meant something. Because I could do something, write something that a government might not like, even if I had never done it before. Even the possibility meant something real. I think that made me realize something about the power of an artist's expression, about the power of my expression, that I hadn't really understood before. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elsa Cavazos, and this is something I wrote this week on a free ride with my cohort. Moving to California was a pivotal moment in my life. I've lost the fear of change since I was 8, when I was first forced to experience change. My dad had paid for an English summer camp for me to learn English during the summer. The first time we did it, my mom had to wait to be out of the school year to join me in Texas. Then, when I was going to middle school, I was told we were leaving Mexico for Texas. I had to leave my immediate family, friends, even my dog. The first week of 7th grade, I made a friend. 2 weeks later, she moved to Washington. I cried all night. But now, after all that, change does not scare me. I like leaving now. I seek change. I like leaving situations. I like and always feel like running away. Moving to California was an escape from my comfort zone, my personal expectations, and my social circle. All of my friends are getting engaged and getting married. My first ever proper date was in California. I've had boyfriends too, both in close proximity in a way back when I was in Texas. Never picked me up for a date, rarely picked up the tab. I don't know if I want the traditional life my friends seek. I'm trying to find myself. California seemed like a good place. I moved because of a new, exciting journalism job, a job that only lasted 6 months. After my newspaper suddenly closed, this time change was abrupt. But I pulled through even while scared. I guess I move and get things done because change is inevitable.
Okay. Everyone, my name's Rebecca Liu, and my piece is called Yours, Mine, and the Truth. My 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Smith, had fiery red hair and used to say that every story has 3 sides: yours, mine, and the truth. I've long since forgotten what drama caused her to share this wisdom, but the phrase has stuck with me. I think about this phrase in the context of Taiwan, where my parents were both born and raised. In their 20s, they immigrated to the US. traversing thousands of miles across an endless ocean and starting their lives over in a new country. I was born and raised in Indiana. As a kid, I made the reverse trek a few times to visit extended family, trading cornfields for lush mountains. A few years ago, I noticed that my parents' birthplace began showing up in American media with increasing frequency. But these news outlets didn't quite capture the Taiwan from my childhood. If I made a word cloud with these articles, certain words would appear more often and show up in abnormally large font. Words like China, military drills, war. But this is what I remember from the Taiwan of my childhood. Spending time with my cousins, gently teasing the youngest and repeating the silly phrases that came out of his mouth as he happily played in the dirt. My grandparents buying us treats that we couldn't find in Indiana. I loved the sweet yogurty taste of Yakult and the fizziness of apple cider sodas. Once my ama and agon saw which treats disappeared the fastest, they would rush to replenish our stash. Their kitchen was always so full that it felt like walking around in a maze. I don't know how to reconcile the Taiwan I know and love with the Taiwan that appears in American media. That Taiwan holds an expiration date when it's said to be invaded by another country under the guise of a reunion. This duality reminds me of an optical illusion. Does the picture show two faces or a vase? I catch myself thinking back to Mrs. Smith's words. Yours, mine, and the truth.
Hi, I am Anu Khosla, and this is about animal memes. I used to detest the early aughts trend of ridiculous animal listicles. It felt more foreboding than the closing of the Rocky Mountain News. Do I mean that, really? 12 giraffes who could be the social chair of your frat seemed like a sure sign that the North American sun had set on intellectualism and critical thought. Internet absurdity is largely ahistorical, while managing to be an artifact of such a specific historical moment. Furthermore, it isn't art. If anything, it's commerce. What then were my ducks? The posting of the ducks was not an attempt to distract from political realities. The ducks and the teacup pigs and the baby foxes were, at least for me, a gesture towards resilience. The point of resilience was to help us deal with the political reality directly rather than to avoid it. Today, the hope, my hope, is that baby animals on the internet can perform a severing function. Their great promise is a breaking up of the doom scroll. A choice can be made to reject emotionally manipulative talking points. A choice can be made to post a dandy squirrel instead of a call to arms. The trauma Olympiads of comparative suffering in which we are otherwise now engaged happen in part because we are following the grooves of our attention economy. In such topography, empathy becomes a limited resource. When we are inundated with pain at all times, from all angles, people begin to rank trauma out of pure desperation. It is a way to prioritize, a semi-rational act. This desperation grows when we do not have access to full and nuanced portraits of what is really happening. Perhaps continuing to try and fill those gaps with whatever that algorithm feeds us is a strategy doomed to fail. Perhaps a baby duckling is a more liberatory choice.
Thank you. So appreciate that. I was definitely going to do that myself, and would have been awkward. Hi, everyone. My name is Alexandra Clemente Perez, and I'm going to call this piece Tropical Tinnitus. We always get told that we are too loud. Others don't appreciate that silence is a foreign concept to us. So much so that when we don't have a soundtrack, we will make one happen. We will do anything before surrendering to auditory nothingness. I can't remember many prolonged quietudes when I remember my childhood in Caracas. The sounds of nature nurtured my developing auditory cortex the resonances and reverberations of a tropical flora and fauna wrestling against its human inhabitants, the crackling crickets, the winding wind through the clusters of chaguaramos. Layered on top of these organic sounds, the inorganic grumbles of those inhabitants wrestling to survive, a phone call over speaker about everything and nothing, the rattling and rumblings of a lunch at 4 p.m., the deep bass from a song blasting from passing stereo. But when it's 4 a.m. in Northern California, I am not mulled by melody. I am haunted by its hallucination. That emptiness, that lack of, coalesces and folds into itself. The silence braids itself into a string that feeds itself into my brain through my open ears. It announces itself when I settle into insomnia as a high-pitched timbre pulsing through my inner canals. It expands in my head to rattle my whole brain with a frequency so high I can't measure its periodicity. But I can feel it in my eye sockets. I can feel it in my teeth. It hums through the rest of my bones all the way down to the end of my body. My tinnitus is as elastic as it is never-ending, tying this void to an infinity of nothing within and beyond me.
Yeah, good. Hi all, my name is Jariya. This is excerpts of the 100th day. Sunday is the third day since Harmony has begun to wean off food and onto morphine. Uncle John comes to pay his respects in the morning. He's always had a striking resemblance with Haba, just 11 years younger, but with an alternating buzz cut or ponytail. He had been excommunicated from the Park brothers long ago, had not seen my grandparents in years. He did not visit in Haba's final days, nor on the 49th day after. Perhaps he thought it would be unwanted, a final affront to his brother's sanctity. Instead, he texted 3 words to us, our first teaching, Namu Amitabu. He arrives on Sunday promptly on time, just as Haba would have, and greets Harmony softly in Korean. She does not respond outwardly. It is the 3rd day since she's settled into a relative's silence, but they say she can hear us. Her hearing is one of the last senses to leave. I was happy that he could offer a message in her first language. Over recent years, she would occasionally lapse back into Korean, sometimes with no distinguishment between English, Korean, and Japanese. We had always spoken with her in English, and this served a mild slap to reality. I now wonder what she simply did not express to us because of what the language could not hold. Perhaps this has been part of the devastation, a fear that in this last and crucial window, we could not meet her in her chosen tradition, a final blow to all that we could not ask, could not understand, would never know. We sit a while longer around her bed, Uncle John perched in a fold-out walker next to the pulsing oxygen machine. Like Harmony, he has alternated between religions, originally Buddhist, baptized Catholic, and now somewhere in between. But he shrugs. Don't I look more like a Buddhist? On his left forearm, he shows me the tattoos of his Dharma name and Korean name, inked beside the visage of a woman he had loved, her hair flowing and breasts bare. He tells us that at the tail of Muryan-san, Dancing Dragon Mountain, there is a temple there. In these mountains of Ulsan, generations of the Park family lay to rest. I realize it is his and Haba's generation where the pattern breaks, just like an X drawn through their birth papers and the Korean government's records of our family tree. Originally, our family is Buddhist, he tells us. We are Buddhist. It rings like a remembering.
Good afternoon. I'm Janay Thomas. This is called Strawberries for Zora. I slice slowly, carefully, one single vibrantly red strawberry into slivers. Zora's meals are made to facilitate infant-led weaning. We serve her tiny pieces of whole foods chopped too minute to become a choking hazard that smites out her light too soon. I decided that we would be making Zora's baby food at home. No pre-made baby pouches and processed food for us. The decision was driven by the fact that in the landlocked southern state I'd grown up in, fine dining was chain restaurants, smothering food and shredded cheese a culinary art. What was the point of busting my ass in law school just to feed my kid the crap we'd scavenged for in the food desert of my origin story? It wasn't until I arrived in California that I got shipped from out of state. My doula warned me that my goal of preparing full organic baby food would be a Herculean task, especially for a new working mom. Cautioned me to not overload myself because who had the time? I wasn't raised this way, or at least not yet. But aren't we all just self-parenting ourselves, filling in the gaps in education our parents couldn't provide? My grandmother told me that in her day, formula was pushed on new mothers. They were instructed by male doctors to bind their breasts so that their milk never flowed. Once dependent on the formula, but too poor to purchase it, they would make their own milky concoctions using water and oatmeal and carnation milk powder. All of this is intense, I explained to the blue-eyed man standing next to me. This, I say gesturing to the heavens, the reality of what it means to be me, an educated Black female head of household in America, the ancestors of immigrants who did not choose to come here. It is why I don't share what's going on with me a lot of the time. To stare dead on is to risk being turned to stone. I continue to slice slowly, carefully, one single vibrantly red strawberry for Zora. That is my resistance.
My name is Betty Shamieh, and this is Between Ta-Nehisi Coates and Me. I am not the only Palestinian American who goes into a state of shock when reading the message or watching Ta-Nehisi Coates use his national platform to speak against the silencing of our voices. Words alone can't capture such an intense physical reaction where the system has no template for how to react, so it shuts down as a form of protection. Shock is the closest I can get to describe the jolt of extreme disorientation I feel when Coates dares to voice a truth that many deem too dangerous to even think. When he declares before the world that Palestinians should be allowed to speak for ourselves. I blank out. Did that just happen? Did he just do that? I rewind, I reread. Yes, he did. This man stepped into the line of fire I've been shirking from in so many ways all my life. When I was younger, I used to wish that one day there would be a Palestinian American president. Today, I aspire for a different kind of grandeur than the glory of winning the popularity contest that is an American election. My hope is that future generations of Palestinian Americans will be in a position to do what Coates has done for us, which was to use his hard-earned power, visibility, and cultural currency to defend the human rights of a community he saw as even more silenced than his own. What does that kind of step mean, not just for Coates, but for the trajectory of the story of Black Americans? Would not the greatest dream imaginable be that someday my people too will have the privilege to speak out on behalf of others, and that, like Coates, we do?
Okay, I'm gonna ask the essay group to just stand where you are so we can give them all a huge round of applause.
Really powerful stuff. We'd like to invite the fiction group up, but you don't have to worry about it. Next, this is Vanessa Quaz cohort.
Hi, everyone. My name is Areli. I'm part of the fiction group. I want to thank my Vanessa and G and Dio and everybody else who gave me feedback on my first reading. Legend has it that if you put an altar for the dead on Dia de Muertos, they will visit you. Today is Dia de Muertos. Tio Ernesto strides into my house with his hands in his pockets. His shiny black hair frames his beautiful face. When they took him from us, I was 12. Now I am almost 10 years older than him. He spots the latest photo on the altar, Abuelo Juan. We turn towards the door and there you are. Abuelo Juan, you shrunk. You are no longer towering over me. Your once round belly, that belly that bounced when you roared in laughter, wanting to be seen by everyone, now sags. Your eyes are sunken, exhausted from traveling between worlds, from making sense of what happened. Your dark skin is pale from months of locking yourself up. Your hands, once thick with calluses from fixing cars, are now bony. They are no longer a threat to your children, familiar with your temper. But your face barely has wrinkles. You didn't burden yourself with worry for those you abandoned, for those you hurt. You were never more than a teenager until you saw your life for what it was, until it was too late to go back, until you were alone and realized why. Do you regret what you didn't say? What about the broken family you left behind? You gave up on life, squashed under the weight of your wrong decisions. Now you walk towards Tio Ernesto, your son, and put your arm around him. Legend has it that the dead only visit if you put an altar for them. Then why do I feel you around me all the time?
Hello, folks. My name is Christian. I'm in the fiction cohort with Vanessa and all those folks. So I just want to thank everyone for the support and the folks at the Writers Group for throwing this together. This is a flash fiction piece or excerpt from it. It's titled Naughty by Nature. From weeks of tsunami, you may think O'Shea Salani was an apprentice, a loyal student of the old gods in the new, wrapped up in some cult, an instant sacrifice from modernity. But do you even know? They take us disciples from our ghetto illiterate families when we still suck on our mama's breast. We don't remember where we come from or our granny soul. Do you know what they teach us about the outside world? We must bring all 401 old gods to this plane. Do you know what makes one different from the next? Is it simply where you were born or the gods I serve? When you kiss me like that, deep, sloppily with tongue, I wish the world was already over. It was hard to accept what I must do in the end. It reminded me of when I lost my virginity at 17. Yes, in the butt. During that winter at Flores, when the university was on spring break. Pain, then pleasure. I haven't been touched by how you promised in so long. I could lose it with you again. Is that what you want? To turn me inside out and stretch the hole in my soul until I feel worthy? I needed to hear you say it, baby. Not just grab my ass with your callous hands and numb on my neck in the shadows of this alley. Not just laugh at my drunken jokes or compliment my intelligence. Not just blush after confessing. But even with your brothers in arms, you still feel alone every waking moment. Give it to me. I'm willing to be yours until I'm not. Don't you love details? Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jariya. And this is from a piece that I wrote this week here, and I just want to thank my cohort for being so supportive. And this exists in the world of my novel in progress. It's called How to Dispose of Your Ex-Lover's Body. Put the body in the trunk of the car that once was your father's. Lift with your legs. Do this without getting blood everywhere. Just a few hours before sunrise, stop the car and realize you drove the whole way without music, just your racing thoughts. Get the shovel, pour a small amount of water on the ground to soften it, and begin to dig. Dig a lover-shaped hole, a man-child-shaped hole, a soul-sucking colonizer-shaped hole in the ground. Carve it out with your teeth. Don't let yourself look at the face for too long. at his dead yet open eyes from which all the color has drained. Wrap the body in the bedsheet as you lift. Use all of your strength. Swallow the bile in your throat when his body hits the earth with a hollow thud. Ignore the blood as best you can. Ignore how his blood is now dried and crusted on your skin. Suppress the fact that it reminds you of the time your blood was all over him, how it had turned the both of you on, how that feels like a lifetime ago. Drag the lover, man-child, soul-sucking colonizer into the lover, man-child, soul-sucking colonizer-shaped hole. Remember to bend your knees. In your limited vision under the moonless night, his deadness is softened. Be grateful for this. So grateful that you reach to gently close his cold eyelids with your fingers so that he could never look at you again. Cover him with the sheet, douse the body in gasoline, and say a prayer to every god you can name. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Giorlando, and this is a piece I wrote this week. I want to thank my cohorts, especially Rally that gave me the first and the last advice on this piece. And I want to thank my jiu-jitsu coach, Elizabeth. It's called Personal Space. He's going to score 2 points. You should have disengaged the moment he held your arm. Self-defense is about staying out of harm's way, and you already failed. Don't fall on your back, shift your weight toward your free arm. You must do a break fall. Concrete is harder than mat and dirtier. Don't allow him to disengage now. Close your legs tight around him and keep his hands close to you. Control with your body. Follow him with your hips. From this position, go for the armbar. No, don't release your grips. No, don't open your legs. You need to keep him between your legs until you have control of the situation. I know it's uncomfortable. I know he's smelly. Hold his arm as if you wanted him to caress your face. Hold his arm. Hug it. His arm is now yours. Now you may open your legs. Now you're in control. Now it's your choice. Without releasing his arm, step on his hip. Be strong. Don't be kind. You can't. Don't step with gusto. Pass your leg over his head. Aim for his neck. To protect your body, you can't be ashamed. He shouldn't feel safe in your personal space. With your leg to his neck, push him down. Choke him if you need to. Get your groin as close to his body as possible. Lock his arm between your knees. Hold his hand. Pull his arm down. That's it. Teach him he's only allowed to approach you on your terms.
Hello, my name is Guananí Gómez van Cortright, and the name of this story is Night Heron. Lo, for again in the gathering dusk we hear the mournful squawk of the black-crowned night heron, stooping as he lurches through the murky marsh in search of love. And have we not pity for his stocky form, propelled by steady wing beats against the dim horizon, for his haunting stare marooned upon the mud? For the night heron, unbeknowing, has raised the offspring of intruders in his nest, little changelings hatching in his care and feeding from his throat. See him feebly ambush fishy treasures in the reeds, weeping as he dishevels their flesh. And don't we weep with him, knowing the impostor fledglings have abandoned him for distant moors, calling him a fool, leaving his crown forsaken and his legacy brittle? And yet he loves them still, misses them, and yet he yearns for chicks of his own, for heirs to his brackish throne. And so the night heron, prince of the marsh, droops his elegant plume as sunrise needles through the trees. He barks out in anguish at another night alone. Oh, but see the bubbles breaking through the mud to reveal the knucklesome hands of the bog witch as she rises from the silt, for she grows weary of his brooding and moping. Enough of your whining, night heron, gurgles the witch. If the bog is so barren, why not slip off your feathers and search for love elsewhere? And so we hold our breath
As the night heron kneels before the bog witch, she plunges her fingers twixt his plumage and unfurls him from his feathered flesh. Out stumbles a lithe fellow. His eyes are still blood red. He is a night heron wearing human skin. Oh, how he shivers in the crispness of the morn, stumbles clumsy in new limbs, falls and squelches mud between his toes and laughs. The witch laughs too, with and at the night heron man, and sees him off to seek new love, wheezing with nerves, but no longer quite so forlorn.
Hi, my name is Mark, and this is the beginner's guide to working out. Don't go to the gym alone, at least when you're first starting out. If you ask any gym bro, I'm sure they'll agree. They all started lifting while on the wrestling team or with their friend who played football or their older cousin. Working out is a rite of passage, an informal mentorship steeped in perspiration. Soon you'll learn that every man who sweats has learned to sweat alongside a throng of other sweaty men, even if they never thought of it that way. And any man who goes to the gym consistently is already much gayer than you. So there's no need for you to be self-conscious. In fact, they should be conscious of you. So make sure to find some allies when you go. Maybe start with a class, make some new friends, women. They will show you how to look good in tight clothing. And if you like them, invite them over for brunch, not knowingly when they complain about the school board, their inattentive husbands. Be reassured you're not anything like Felicia's husband, Bill. But as much as you'll love the exercise classes, the girl talk, you do know eventually you'll have to start pounding those weights. If you need help, and you will, you can hire a personal trainer and you've got options. One option is hiring a woman. They'll push you and give you tough love, your very own Jillian Michaels. You, in particular, though, might find another option more motivating. If you hire a man, you earn the dual distinction of wanting him and wanting to be him. What is the gym but an exhibition of the unattainable? What is the gym but an investigation into edging? You'll learn to practice restraint, no matter how sexy it sounds. When he asks if he can help you stretch out, no matter how deep his voice is, no matter that you haven't been this close to a man in ages. This is a look but don't touch kind of situation. You'll have to keep some distance because you're not ready to fall in love. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Swetha Amit. I want to thank Melissa and my cohort for their wonderful support. So today I'm going to be reading a Hermitcraft Flash I wrote this week, and it's called How to Deal with Thorns About Your Dark Skin. Do not listen when your grandma tells you not to stay in the sun for too long during summers in India because your skin will get darker. You need your healthy dose of vitamin D. Do not bleach your face repeatedly, no matter how much your nosy aunt forces you. It will only get drier and lose its luster. Do not compel yourself to drink milk with saffron because your grand aunt says your skin will become fairer. Your stomach will churn and make you puke. Do not worry about being the odd one out from the rest of your fair skin family. It doesn't make you an outsider. You still have the genes embedded in your veins. Resist the urge to cry when your insensitive cousins tease you about never finding a life partner because of your dark skin or your aspirations to become an artist. A plain white canvas looks more beautiful when splattered with dark colors. Do not fret about your skin being a shade of coffee without milk or cream. Most people love it. Ignore your mom's taunts about not going places or reaching great heights. Think about celebrities like Serena Williams. When you find the right person or a career boost, you will walk with your head high, smiling as radiantly as the sun. Learn to forgive the idiosyncrasies of your entire family when they refer to your skin as a shade of mud in the garden during some of those gatherings when they run out of topics to talk about. It's a part of the sun-kissed land where the trees and flowers grow. It's a part they consider very close to their hearts. Thank you. Woo!
Let's get y'all up here for a photo.
Yeah, this is when we put it.
That's true.
Okay.
Where should we look around?
All right, apologies. So that's the format we're gonna do. When you're done reading, stick with your cohort, come up here. Your lead will join you and then we'll take a photo and then we'll give you a big round of applause. Which genre do we have next? Poetry, okay. So yeah, if the poetry cohort, come on up. And this is Shika who led that group. Awesome, there you are. Whoa.
Sara, and this is We Have No Orders to Save You, trigger warning for Islamophobic violence. In 2002, a train of Hindu pilgrims traveling from Ayodhya to Ahmedabad caught fire, killing 58 Hindu passengers trapped inside. In retaliation against suspected Muslim attackers, although the cause of the fire is still unknown, a mob mobilized by the far right attacking Muslim communities and businesses, killing over 700 Muslims and over 250 Hindus. At the time, Narendra Modi, Minister of Gujarat, was accused of failing to stop and even encouraging the violence. The attack has since been characterized as an intentional act of ethnic cleansing rather than a spontaneous riot. Call an act terrorism, and tell us who looks back at you. This is the calculus of bloodlust. The attack coordinated across cell phones, lists of names and addresses pre-distributed. We came by the truckload, armed with swords and flames and fists and the might of all our gods. Our saffron robes billowed in the wind as we descended. Home and business and masjid burned noxious, bodies blackened out of recognition. As flames engulfed, the cries for help rang out, a stilted voice on the other end of the dial-up receiver informs you we have no orders to save you. And just like that, the line clicks closed, the dial tone roaring into a fire alarm. There is the violence, and then there is the quiet in the sunset of violence. A slaughterhouse shapeshifts back into a town, and the unhuman rage simmering into a surveilling third eye. We want you to know we can take your lover, pry open her womb, her fetus a pearl spilling out of lockjaw oyster, string the teenage girl up by the tree's aching limbs, and just as quickly, we can recast the mask of civility. We can pass you in the market, wait in line behind you to change money, elect the man who watched you bury your many dead, build a house of worship over the rubble of your neighborhood and call it holy. No, there is nothing on this land we cannot take. It is your ghosts that are haunted by us.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll have to increase it in a moment. Alicia, meet everyone again. So this is called First Duplex. Sorry for some of you who are hearing this for like the third time.
It only gets better.
First duplex after Jericho Brown. When I was born, my father wasn't there. The other side of the sea isn't known. The inside of our skin is never known. That day, a surgeon peeled open my mother. Today, I peel the pink off a screeching shrimp. It is curved and lustrous like the sea. Round and lustrous, my father's desires carried him away to find his own country. My mother finds her country in the TV, like a cascade empties into the sea.
Like a cascade empties into the sea, I learned to live with strangers in this country. Strangers in my country are being born every day. When I was born, my father wasn't there. One more. This is called First Days. Your Lalau asked how we were adjusting, if we needed more diapers. We are all belugas in winter, I told her, wet all day, and the only news is of those 3 young brothers swept from the branches during the flood. One by one, tiny fingers purpled and released their grip. Before their mother could dive to them, they were somewhere, to stay where the dolphins play. The mother listened until all she heard was the shrieking storm like a wail echoing home. I told Lala your first breaths were choppy, which I mistook for coups. The neonatologist corrected me. It was a sign. I listened and listened for the way to get you home safe. But before I could dive to you, the water in your lungs vanished. Still every night, curled up in bed like a fist, I listened as the whale whimpered for its mother. Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Feliz Dia de los Muertos to those who honor the tradition. I got a poem. Some could say it's new. Everybody's got new shit. We can do it every time. All right. This is a working title, but Free Like Pollen after Juan Felipe Herrera and Too Short. Under fading daylight, fences rise tall like redwoods, though we know no man-made object, excuse me, can match a new mother's tenacity, a new mother's will to protect. Nuestros hijos refract rainbows, one for every sueño of freedom that ended too young. Following our antepasados' footsteps, we go on, and we can't understand how we last this long. Escondidos and unseen from predator eyes and hot steel barrels, we trust the instincts our ancestors devoted to the vision, the promise of descendants that breathe freely and dream boundless. We must have superpowers, how we make a bottle of water stretch across the desert sun in 2 tongues, how we take the spine of 1,000 worn bodies, carry them on our hombros, and effortlessly bear fruit for all to feed. Get it calculated, do the math, because in this poem we multiply, become brilliant monarch butterflies by the thousands, gust gliding, migrating over the artificial lines dug in soil. On moonlit plains under the cover of clouds, we are told to move in silence. Any footstep miscalculated will alert the world that we are here. We only get more illegal every day. We will not wait for tomorrow's decision of life. Today, a moment beyond now, never promised, not to us. Blow the whistle. Alert the world we are here to stay. Thank you.
Radiya-Dixit, and I want to thank my lovely cohort and my teacher. This poem is about my grandmother, and it's called Dear Mom. Recently, I learned that Hindi has 4 Ds. The. The script transliterated into English, my home base, but for you, a foreign space. My hands a map for your ears. I hold an imaginary cup as I say water instead of water. And you twist your waning drums to pick up my accent, stretching like how you came across this ocean, gave up your Indian passport to become an American citizen, promising to give up loyalty to other countries, memorizing the first president and the First Amendment and the first people who lived here before the Europeans arrived. To what do we pledge allegiance? The officer asks, and you answer the flag with blood on its white hands, a star-strangled banner on this land where you pass a test to see your sons.
to move across borders without a 6-month stay in the California winters that are still too cold for your body, which only knows rain in the summer. The suburbs here are too quiet for your ears that miss the call of the uncle who comes to deliver doodh to make dahi, aunties who come to share dokla with Dania. You speak of India as a great land, as if we left colonialism behind when the British left, as if we did not draw the lines of our own map, as if we can name a land our own with a set of documents, like how you can now get access to Amrika with a sheet of paper, a set of 10 questions answered. And yet, I want you here. And yet, I hate that you will die, not in your homeland, but the one I was born in. Thank you.
Bad habit of always punching, so I'm like trying to in reading. I'm Elise. It's been such a joy to read and workshop with this cohort. Trigger warnings for this and all poems, I think, always. This poem is an answer to a question that I get asked a lot. I'm not going to share more about it, but it's called Originally. I come from watermelons, sunshine and bitterness, the land of red sauce, which means soy sauce, which means brown and thin and salty, as a farmer who, hasn't eaten yet today. I'm from the rice she grew. I'm what happened when she met soldiers on the road. I'm from her almost empty bowl and the depth of each last grain. This life, I wear it like a hat. I pull it low and I grow pale in that shade. Googling each sound I speak but cannot scribe. My every ancestor's every wordless name. How many sons they buried and how soon and how they bore the pain. The head of the fish and the foot of the pig and the back of the plane. We're from here now. The fear in that claim. I'm from don't eat with your hands like and better stay in our lane. In the land of strange fruit and those who pick it, the ones who live are the ones who watch, and I'm from buying into that game. Originally, from H1B and 99 Range and 33rd and Judah, and each brick step to the third floor flat, my akong and I, limped up after me in the rain. I'm from Know Your Place. I'm from Don't Complain. The beautiful country, this land and its questions. A white picket fence is a wall, all the same. Thank you.
Hi folks, my name is Damani Thomas. So 3 things you should know before the poem. 1, a contrapuntal is a poem that can be read 3 ways: left column, right column, and across. Sugar Shack is a painting by Ernie Barnes, and Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer. So this is Jeffrey Dahmer Visits Sugar Shack, 1976. So left side. Hi, I'm Dahmer, and you are. Apparently, I beat homosexuality to death with fists and need a drink. Let me buy you. Let me buy your time. Let me buy your throat. Never leave me, altars. If I can't keep you here whole, at least I can keep your skeleton. Nostalgia begs me to leave the room again and again and again. I go to the clubs, drink, watch the striptease shows, and if I don't meet something close to a declaration of power, everyone at this bar will know discrimination by what happens next. Right. I'm tired and tomorrow is a treat my bills drool over. Psych wards call me crazy, but men elsewhere call me secrets Webster wouldn't translate with the sun up. Sir, I don't slow dance with anyone that reminds me of my father. This is a dance hall, you know. This is a self-portrait covered in armor, too lawless for trauma. I thought I told you I don't dance with 2 feet. Potty mouths, jello legs, too many limbs that don't conjure God on the dance floor, or at least a shimmy. You bet I will become the nastiest hallelujah and pray whoever is watching over me doesn't judge. Hi, I'm Dahmer and you are. I'm tired. And tomorrow is a treat my bills drool over. Apparently, I beat homosexuality to death. Psych wards call me crazy, but men elsewhere call me with fists and need a drink. Let me buy you secrets Webster wouldn't translate with the sun up. Let me buy your time. Let me buy your throat. Sir, I don't slow dance with anyone that reminds me of never leave me altars. I can't keep you, my father. This is a dance hall, you know. This is a self here whole. At least I can keep your skeleton portrait covered in armor, too lawless for trauma. Nostalgia begs me to leave the room again, and I thought I told you I don't dance with two left feet. Again and again, I go to the clubs, drink, watch potty mouths, jello legs, too many limbs that don't conjure the striptease shows. And if I don't meet God on the dance floor, or at least a shimmy, something close to a declaration of power, you bet I will become the nastiest hallelujah, and everyone at this bar will know discrimination. Pray whoever is watching over me doesn't judge by what happens next.
Hi, my name is Charicel Angel de Merced Parla. Trying to reclaim my full name, so you got all of it. One thing you should know, if you don't know, the lyrics that I'll sing in this poem are Celia Cruz's version of the song Perhaps, Perhaps, Perhaps. And it's tentatively titled, In the Shower, I Pray and Plead and Sing and Swear and Beg for Signs. Siempre que te pregunto que cómo, cuándo y dónde, tú siempre me respondes, quizás, quizás, quizás. Papa, please send me a sign, but Papa, por favor, make it clearer. Papa, send me an arcoiris. Send me a day when my throat is clear, a night when I'm not choking, I'm choking. I'm the fly in the vase. I'm the fly without her buzz. I don't remember buzzing. I don't remember buzzing anymore. I don't remember punctuation. I stopped writing punctuation. It's all an incantation. It's all a way I flail, trying to switch and switch my wings and switch timelines. It's growing wider, the rough ripples. I might not ever get out. Papa, please, send the little round water, the bright bubble. Let it be iridescent without being chimera. Let it be visible, even if I am tuerta, even if I'm only seen with one eye. Let it be the eye that sees and sees well. Let it be the eye that can only remember and remember only good. Let it be the eye that can integrate and reintegrate. The eye that is not only ever grading. Let it be the eye that is recoagulated, gathered together post-shredding and melting. Let it be the eye that can stand and hold the eyes again in mirror. Let it be the eye that can see me and see you and see me and see you, seeing me, seeing you, and know as if looking in a mirror. Papa, por favor, send me a sign. God answers. I don't send the sign. You sign the sign. I am the sign. You must receive me. I'm a Shia. Black people are from another place. I would like to go back there. Maybe in the future, homes grow on trees. I've seen them fruiting, always too early to pluck, then boom, I miss their ripening like a desperate half-court shot to tie the score of a game I did not sign up to play. The compost bin knows all my secrets. Derek Walcott says, I have no nation but the imagination, and I suppose all my wanderings are just that. Wandering paths towards a forest that flourishes only when I speak it into existence. This trickster ton of mine sculpting dirt into estuary, roots that whimper at the weight of their heritage. We know too much to do too little, and therein lies the fracture. Come, let me show you where the origins of my hurt. In America, there are thousands of empty lots where our dead like to gather. My madness is a headscarf. Sometimes mirrors reveal more than I can handle. Clothes stripped from my back, now sold to me by vendors on Etsy who promise they can't possibly go any lower. A friend calls them cursed fabrics anyway. You never know what spirits are stuck to the threads of that kente cloth blouse.
The uncle at my local lake tells me I have a face to remember. I like my personal space. He scatters his imported wares across shit-soaked grass and asks for enough patience to plot his departure. People think me one thing, yet my name betrays reality. Here, I hope to stumble across that initial chasm and sew it shut. Patch it with mud and diamond dust stolen back from people whose only business on the continent is to carve it up beyond recognition. I'd like to go back there, pluck my greedy heart out from behind eucalyptus and plant it on the Gold Coast. I'd like to fly, but sailing will do. On this ship, we don't starve ourselves. We stuff our bellies with candied yam that will soon be pounded, enough heat to swim in, turkey legs smothered. We are a people who know what it means to spill salt and throw it over our shoulder. We are the horsemen riding towards an ancient ape, a darkness that cannot be excised like a cyst. Grief, like soil, is porous. Shouldn't we all carry our terror and fling it back at the overseer? In a museum filled with apologies, what is will always be more important than what could be. Home is a fiction. Perhaps when one world ends, another opens. On the other side of the Atlantic, a father drinks the moon.
If you're planning for a photo and one big round of applause. Please.
Sorry. Okay, look here, big smile. Okay. You get it? Thank you so much. That's amazing.
All right, since they didn't get a photo, let's get Tara and
Yeah.
Tara and the essay group up here real quick for their photo and their round of applause. Well deserved.
Look at you guys.
Next up is the memoir cohort led by Grace.
Shut up. I'm Billy Gong. This is an excerpt from a story of mine called The Korean Word for Scared. The chickens squawked and ruffled as I passed the coop. A mouse's tail disappeared into the salt and pepper hen's throat. She swallowed, puffed her chest, then slowly scratched her feet as a show for the other hens. Musawa. I watched out my bedroom window as Halmini made her way to the hens. She deftly grabbed the salt and pepper and wrung her neck. She dropped her to the ground, and it ran about, wings thrashing, its mouth wide open and lulling as its head swung like a bell. Maybe this was what made someone say Musuo. Or it was the chicken as it scalded, feathers coming out in handfuls, the lacerating ripping sound, knife cutting through skin, through meat, through bones, scaled feet sticking out of a tall pot. It was the partially digested mouse in the trash and the chicken's viscera, fur wet, its body crushed and flattened. Or it was the meat sitting on my plate, black grill marks like cigarette burns. Maybe Musuo was just a way of saying I'm scared, but it was a particular kind of fear. It was the amber and black wings of a wasp, the wings making a mechanical buzzing hiss as it made its way to the flesh of your lips, It was also the skin coming off of a dead snake, the jagged white necklace of bones underneath. Or it was the cat in the road, its hind legs smashed by a wheel, blood dripping out of its mouth as it made its last futile movements, trying to drag its body off the road, its intestines hanging out of its belly. It was when Halmani told me how the soldiers picked up babies, swinging them by their legs to smash their heads against walls. I thought that Korea was the only place where children died. Mom and Dad traveled here for me to be born, where soldiers didn't smash babies against the walls in alleyways, or, if they couldn't bother, leave them in a trash heap without a blanket. Musuo, I thought in the dark as I tried to sleep.
Hey, everyone. My name is Stephanie Liu, and this is the beginning of an essay in progress. The first time I visited a psychiatrist's office, I was 31. His office was clean and spare, the furniture soft. On the walls hung photos of serene landscapes, 2 cranes flying over a placid lake, a lavender field covered in dew. A box of tissues sat within arm's reach. "How long have you been feeling this way?" he asked. I shifted in my seat and sat on my hands. "Since I moved here, I guess." Outside his bay windows, I could see the chalk white outline of the moon, its craters dark and soft. He took out a white notepad. "Start with 2.5 milligrams, and then 5 milligrams as a daily dose." He tore up the paper and handed it to me. I thanked him and got up to leave. "You know," he said, "all this could be temporary. You could be married with a baby by next year." Our half hour was up. Once outside, I lingered on the front steps with the heat of people and cars as the sounds of the city came rushing back in. The moon hung quietly in the blue sky. I had lied. In my mind, I ran through a list of what I could have said instead when he asked me how long I'd been feeling this way. Since senior year of high school when I couldn't stop crying. Since college when I felt nothing and then ashamed for feeling nothing. Since moving to the city, since forever ago. When I was young, I remember being stunned the moon was always there during the day. That it never went away. This was like that. The realization that some things, while not always visible, can still be there, hiding in plain sight.
Hello, I'm Gary. This is the opening of my memoir. In the middle of Jalandhar city in Punjab, a cacophony of traffic noise filled the airspace at a congested roundabout, Jyoti Chowk, right on the old Grand Trunk Road. I heard a frequency range of horns, shrill monotones, belching gusts, and tinny buzz claps, plus a dozen scooter engines, all nonstop. The vehicular mass included not just cars. There were top-heavy trucks with dingy tarps barely containing their cargoes. I saw every possible variety of rickshaw, covered and uncovered, small three-wheelers and larger family-sized contraptions. Solitary pedestrians shuffled straight into the middle of the traffic with not a worry in their eyes. It was a network of near misses. Children yelled from the windows of a bright yellow school bus that somehow made it through the whole mess. Silence did not exist. A beautifully incongruous clutter of structures encircled the whole roundabout while a few clogged roads spun off in different directions. The commerce seemed lively and rocking. Garments, melons, watches, tax consultants, and cosmetics and tire shops. Distorted Punjabi music blasted from jewelry stores. Colorful fabrics hung from racks that overflowed into the street. My dad grew up on the other side of this roundabout, but left Jalandhar in the 50s to attend college in Northern California, where he eventually married my mom, a white woman from the US. He and I never had an adult conversation because he drank himself to death when I was 16, leaving me with little knowledge of his story, except his math degree and his software consulting jobs. He liked the Sgt. Pepper's album and scratchy jazz records and Urdu ghazals. but I knew very little else. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shantae Owens, and I'm going to read an excerpt from an essay called Wedding Colors, which is about an experience I had in my early 20s at a wedding in the South with an ex. The evening became more enjoyable with each glass of wine I drank. By 9 o'clock, I had become a permanent fixture on the dance floor. Brett was not a good dancer. His body all extremities and 90-degree angles, and he would never publicly do something he wasn't good at. So I danced mostly on my own. Under the spell of Chardonnay, the world began to feel like a painting left out in the rain. The edges of people's faces lost their sharp contours. The distance I'd kept between myself and the others had been swallowed up, leaving me sweaty and clinging to the skin of strangers. The lights looked like stars and the stars looked like us, shiny bodies orbiting the night as one. That is, until I closed my eyes to the colors in front of me and saw only a violent streak of pink. Someone yelled that it was time for the farewell, and everyone rushed to the front of the manor, where we were each handed a sparkler. I'd never lit a sparkler before and didn't know there was a technique to it until a stinging sensation on my hand told me that I'd done something wrong. I'd held the sparkler at too sharp an angle, allowing the burning portion to touch my skin for several seconds before I registered the pain. Maybe it was all that wine or the adrenaline from dancing or some desperate need to avoid making another scene in front of these people's searching eyes, but the pain felt small in that moment. I shrugged it off with a laugh when Brett, seeing me wince, asked what had happened. Lit by the frenetic flicker of the sparkler, we peered down at my hand, the crescent-shaped mark playing out its own angry drama, flaring from pale pink to a deep reddish brown with each bright spasm of light. It's not that bad, I said, passing him the lighter. Neither of us knew that in a few hours the pain would become unbearable, that we'd have to stop at a drugstore on the way to the after party to buy burn cream, that at the party I'd keep my hand against a glass of ice water because it was the only relief I could find, that at the end of the night, when Brett and I were having sex back at his stepmom's house, I'd hold my hand up to the ceiling, above the rise and fall of his shoulders and out of harm's way.
Hey everyone, my name is Swetha, and this is an excerpt from my memoir in progress, Love Letters to Little Me, in which my middle-aged self responds to my teenage diary entries. Oh, little me, you were already compressed by more than a child should bear. Perhaps one way you put your own grief in perspective was to see it relative to other people's suffering. The way you tucked in the fragment, or that Dad went crazy and had a heart and ulcer attack between the other tragedies of significant forest fires and the hostages in Iran. I remember how terrified we were when Dad had that ulcer attack. It was just you and Dad in the brown Toyota hatchback. He pulled over onto the side of the road, put his seat back down, unbuttoned his belt and pants, and shrieked in agony. He said, "Mitha, you have to drive us home." Of course, you were only 13 and had never driven a car. Your heart began to palpitate. You were parked on Norwalk Boulevard, a reasonably busy street with Chevron gas stations and Taco Bell drive-through restaurants at the street corners, although some residential houses were on the other side of the street. You ran to one of them and asked for help. That's all I remember about that day. Interestingly, you write only of Dad's experience, but nothing of your internal terror. Perhaps it was too much to process. Maybe you thought most 13-year-olds were experiencing the same thing. It is beautiful how you take pride in yourself, your brown skin and your nationality, which was actually your ethnicity. You always mix those words up since your father made your 2-year-old self memorize the sentence, My ethnicity is Burmese, but my nationality is American. Only years later, you will realize that Southern California beach culture in the 1980s was one of the places where, at least to your middle school peers, your cappuccino skin was desirable and valued. The neighborhood kids with British and Irish heritage would slather their limbs with baby oil and Crisco, hoping their freckles and peeling epidermises would create a constellation that eventually melded together to form a suntan.
Hi everyone, my name is Shruti. I'm gonna read an excerpt from a piece called Bangles, which I wrote after my grandmom passed away. She left behind the bare minimum, unsurprising to anyone who knew her. Gold jewelry, a symbol of prosperity and wealth in Indian society, was something she cared very little for. Amongst her sparse collection, we found 6 simple gold bangles. Fortunate as I am to be her granddaughter, 2 of these heirloom bangles ended up adorning my arms. I do not know where she got them from or when she got them. In addition to the laundry list of questions that I had never asked her, laundry that she folded dutifully to her very last day, her wrinkled hands with the simple bangles gently brushing against Tata's stiff white cotton shirt. No one else was allowed to perform this sacred duty. The same hands that made soft sweeping motions with the rice chata, manually separating black stones from white rice. Her skillful fingers would later mix an aromatic infusion of tamarind and spices with the now cleaned and cooked rice. I can still hear the soft clink of the bangles against the stainless steel vessel filled with pulihora, a meal that she would eat with such satisfaction while situated comfortably on her favorite chair. The position I most often remember her in, her bangled arms wrapped around her knee in a style of sitting that I have adopted. One leg folded flat on the chair, the other propped upright, knee underneath her chin. Unruly, I'm called when I sit that way, though on her it was nothing but elegant. I wear the same bangles, but now the bangles have a different life. They clink against laptops and steering wheels and glasses of wine in a city 8,000 miles from where they were made. By some miracle or not, they now see different sights and hear different words. Sights and words that they had no way of encountering in their previous existence. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Sabreen. This is my first reading. I'm so nervous.
Got this, you got this. Go.
Thank you. And I just want to thank my cohort and instructor Grace for encouraging me to have the confidence to tell my story as myself. So this is something that might become something bigger. Daughters. Mom, the beans are burning. Shit. I pull the cloth belt of my robe tighter around my waist and head into the kitchen. It's been 4, maybe 5 days straight that I've been wearing it. The soft pink fabric is browning at the sleeves. Mom, this is the second night in a row you burned the shh, I demand, pushing the noise out of my mouth as violently as possible. She flinches. Sometimes you don't even need words to cut straight through the flesh. I grab the handle of the pot, burning my hand in the process. Shit, I scream, pulling my hand back. These canned beans cook so fast. You turn your back for a second and then there. What time is it anyway? I glance at the clock, 5:30. What day is it? I glance at the calendar. It still reads October, even though it's now early March. I know that for a fact because my daughter turned 6 last week. I meant to get a new one by now. Hopefully I can do it before the new year. I think it's Wednesday. I know it's definitely a school day. I remember my daughter coming into my room this morning. Mom, can you take me to school? She asked quietly, poking her head into my room. For the past year, she has been attending a homeschool collective. They were my saving grace during COVID when I nearly lost my mind. I don't know how long she stands there waiting for an answer. Could have been 2 minutes or 20. Eventually, she closes the door.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Azucena Garcia, and I am going to read
very early stages of an excerpt. It's a memoir about my grandmother. The fondest memories of my childhood involve the sight of my grandma in the kitchen, wearing an apron and juggling multiple pots and pans on the stove. If I close my eyes, I can distinctly smell some of her signature dishes: mole, enchiladas, chiles rellenos, and albóndigas. I can also hear the stirring of a pitcher of agua fresca with lots of ice, while Univision Spanish newscast plays in the background. Growing up in Oakland in an immigrant multi-generational household of 6 children, parents, and grandmother was no easy task. While my parents worked long and underpaid jobs to provide for a tribe of hungry and picky eaters, my stepdad as a flooring installer and my mom as a house cleaner, my abuelita made the best of what was provided to make sure that we always had 3 home-cooked meals every day. Sometimes money was abundant and our meals were elaborate. Chiles rellenos with a side of rice made with chicken broth, peas and carrots, or sometimes corn. The chiles always made with an expensive type of cotija cheese, only found at a particular Mexican store in East Oakland, which has since closed down and the building demolished. If she was preparing green enchiladas, Grandma would make a batch out of chicken breast without the skin for my siblings and I, and a batch of drumsticks and thighs for her and my parents. It took me years to appreciate the dark meat is the more flavorful part of the chicken. Other times, when funds were scarce, she would use whatever was in the pantry to prep her meals. The rice didn't have any chicken broth, and canned green beans replaced the peas and carrots. Or a bowl of black beans simmered with a pasote, a short-lived fragrant perennial herb native to Mexico, topped with pieces of charred tortilla and a dollop of Mexican or Salvadorian sour cream. Never Daisy. Thank you.
Get everybody and Grace up here for a photo and one big round of applause.
It should be in the middle. Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, let's see. One more.
Okay, everyone look here. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next we're gonna have the screenwriting group. So my name is Nate Olivares-Giles. I just, come on up. I joined as a Grotto member in July, and I've been taking classes online since 2021. I'm just gonna take a second to say, like, this is like what I joined for, like to be around like people who are creative and like they're sharing their stories, they're sharing their ideas, they're sharing their struggles, they're telling us about where they're from, their history, all that. And we got people who are just getting started. We have bestsellers, we have award winners, like we got it all. So please consider joining the Grotto. And if you don't, just keep up with your journey, like keep doing what you're doing. These words are beautiful. This is, I'm getting chills. So if you don't feel it, man, I don't know, like you're dead. So finally, the last cohort is a screenwriting led by Alexandra.
Hi, I'm Chandra, and Nate, you're awesome. I want to add that people writers from New York, everywhere else, they're like, wait, you all just like lift each other up, and there's not competition at the Grotto? Like, what the hell? It's different. I want to say, because of screenwriting, we're kind of trying to adapt to the one writer model. The writers will come up, introduce themselves, and then other writers will come and read parts for them. So, patience. So everybody, remind everyone who's reading for you.
Okay, Otito and Dwayne.
Okay, why don't we do this like half of us on that side and half on here so we can get to the mic quickly?
Good idea.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Suzine, and this is my first screenplay. It's an action movie called Empathogenesis. We're we're gonna have Dwayne and Otito. Dwayne will be reading the character referred to as second, and he speaks in voiceover. And Otito will be playing father. Can you guys see? All right. Over Black.
The character referred to as second speaks in a voiceover.
I was born second son to a second wife under a blood moon. My mother promised it wasn't a curse, and I pretended to believe the lie.
Exterior, a gray stone Greek amphitheater encroached by dark pine, forest bathed in mist. Second's cold face fills the screen. He has an angry year-old scar running down the left side from forehead to chin, splitting his Nordic features into two. A cloudy eye that can only see shapes, a damaged Viking prince.
Second, move to the right. Third, stop your damn fidgeting. And fifth, wipe that blasted drool off your mouth. I've paid enough to fix this. Fix it.
Pan out reveals second among his four brothers, barefoot on the dusty amphitheater floor, all dressed in black linen. All are blonde save for the eldest, who has black hair and a darker complexion. They look up at their father sitting in the emperor's viewing box, already disappointed.
My father called us by the numerical order of his regrets.
Second's upper lip curls in disgust as father's gaze meets his icy eyes.
My conception was neither willing or welcome. Theirs was a union of economics and violence, not affection.
Father coughs hard. A speckle of blood lands on his chest. He reaches for a glass of water that isn't there. A rage curdles his distinguished face that he projects onto his surveying his sons, gladiators without armor.
The only one of us with a name to father is his first. The one whose mother he actually loved. Kiona, the anointed one, conceived under the Aurora Borealis, whose name means God's favorite gift.
To second's left is Kiona, his lithe but muscular frame housed in a flowy black linen tunic and wide leg trousers. He has an old scar across his throat that flexes as he swallows.
Father's only son he loves as much as he despises, not like the rest of us who only receives father's hatred.
Kiona stretches his hands above his head, cracking his knuckles and flexing his fingers. His body moves like water through the air, fluid flesh.
Third, if you fidget again, I'll break your hands myself.
And scene.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sigourney Tulosatilian, and this is a scene from It's Not That Kind of Bar, Hun. She's gonna play Elisa, and she's gonna play Jamie. Interior, diner bar, San Francisco day. Dingy, old-timey, tiki bar accents and checkered floors, perfect for dancing. An uninspired crew waits for a crowd it hasn't seen in decades. Waitress, Roosevelt-born Elisa, 37, rolls her eyes while looking at a smiling photo of her estranged Filipino mother with her new family in the Philippine tropics. She flips to a note at the back. Note, love you, anak. Love you, my child. Elisa crumples it and tosses it at the table.
Love you, Mom.
Seeing no customers, she walks to the door until a distressed Jamie, 37, born in Manila, new immigrant, works in tech, stomps to the farthest booth and buries her face in her hands. Crew looks to Elisa. Elisa looks annoyed.
4 more hours? I'm back.
Elisa drags her feet and grimaces as she gets closer to Jamie.
What can I get you?
Jamie looks up and around, confused.
Is this a diner or a bar? Does it matter? Kinda does. What if I wanted a drink? We have drinks. Here.
Elisa hands Jamie a menu of crammed words on a card.
We used to serve unlimited mimosas, coffee, and orange juice, but we changed with the city.
A fly escapes through a crack. A city worker hoses the sidewalk.
I'll have water, 4 Florida bun, hot links with eggs and coffee.
If you want something stronger, get the crash at Haight Street.
Jamie, horrified.
I don't name them. Maybe try the old San Fran, served in a glass shaped like a cable car. Tourists love those.
Sure, they do, but I'm from here.
Jamie looks at Elisa, almost pleading. Elisa's face softens. She's confused by empathy.
The original order then?
Thanks.
Elisa walks to the kitchen. Jamie's mentally elsewhere. We see what she sees, sitting in an office warehouse suspended in time and moved by the fast silhouettes of busy workers' silence. Elisa hands the ticket to the kitchen. The kitchen starts the grill and fills the glasses, a symphony of cooking. Elisa watches Jamie and wonders what she's thinking.
Hi, everyone. This is the closing scene for my feature film, Idemili. Suzine will be reading for Ogechi and Waverly will be reading for Ijeli. Interior, Ijeli's bedroom, night. Ogechi wakes up screaming. Ijeli cradles her.
What did you dream about?
Interior, Imechata Theater, night. The torrential downpour outside makes the theater lights flicker haphazardly. Audience members chatter with anticipation, waiting for the curtain to rise. Cut to the Victoria Island Ballet Company performs Act 3 of Ondine, a ballet where Ondine the water nymph marries Palamon, the human fisherman. Ondine's water nymph siblings rush on stage. They wreak a hurricane of havoc, capturing and killing wedding guests. Palamon and Ondine cling to each other. He leans his face close to hers. She avoids his lips, sparing him the kiss of death. He turns her face to his and kisses her. The water in his body grows venomous. He rides in agony. Exterior, Lagos, city streets, night. The streets flood and flood. Cars float. Water shatters windows. Traffic lights cycle rapidly through red, yellow, and green. Buildings crumble in soggy heaps. Interior, Emecheta Theater, night. Floodwater rises above the audience's ankles. The whites of their eyes turn indigo as they stare at the dancers in trance. The music swells. The water grows waist deep so the audience stands on their chairs. The dancers continue dancing. Then the audience vanishes. In neck-deep water, the dancers' limbs move with heavy slowness. The music submerges and echolocates through the flood. Finally, the theater is completely flooded. No humans are inside. The place resembles a fish tank. Ogechi answers Ijeli's question in voiceover.
I have this recurring dream where an octopus places an arm on my back. She suctions the skin off my shoulder blade, then releases, over and over. But I don't turn around.
Interior, Mechesa Theater, day. The theater blooms with algae, coral, and marine mammals of all different colors, shapes, and sizes.
She reaches through my back into my chest, pries my heart loose, and swallows it whole. Finally, I turn around and she's holding each of her hearts in 3 of her 8 arms. She force feeds them to me one by one, and then I wake up.
The theater walls fall away, revealing a deep blue sea teeming with even more marine life, fluctuating between states of predation and symbiosis. The long red arms of an octopus reach into frame, fade out.
Oh, you want me to read the title? You want to introduce yourself first?
I am Janet Cheatham Bell, the oldest person here. And I am going to read the opening scene of my historical movie.
Adapted from the historical novel you're writing, right?
Adapted from the historical fiction that I'm writing.
Title card, 1856, Stewart County, Tennessee. The anti-slavery Republican Party is growing rapidly, giving hope to enslaved people. Workers in Stewart County's iron industry decide to rise up against their owners. Words of the skirmish spreads quickly. Monk, an itinerant carpenter, waits out the few days of battle to be first on the scene once it's over.
Wide shot. Monk, a young, unkempt, slender man of European descent, is scavenging in a quiet battlefield strewn with 15 to 20 bodies of both European and African descent, and occasional guns. The bodies are in a variety of positions, some distorted. These dead fighters are not well dressed and not in uniforms. Monk occasionally stoops to check something out and sometimes picks up an item he believes has value, most of which he immediately discards. He sees a gun, checks it out, then swings it over his shoulder. He hears a sound like a child squalling and lifts his head, listening expectantly. The cry comes again, a little louder, and Monk strides toward the sound. Then he sees a toddler, naked and shivering, barely visible in the blackened detritus of a structure that has been destroyed by fire. He is startled by what he sees and exclaims,
Good God, it's a nigga and a girl too. I'm gonna be rich.
He reaches her, picks her up, and pulls his jacket around her. Her cries soften. Monk looks around to see if anyone is watching. He rushes to his wagon, puts the gun down, then picks up a filthy piece of burlap, wraps the child in it, then tucks her under the seat. Once he's seated, he slaps his mule to get it going.
I got my own slave. My own slave. And a girl too. Hallelujah. She gonna produce some youngins. I can keep a few and sell the rest. I'm rich.
Hello. My name is Destiny. Destiny Isigizo. This is my first time reading.
Woo!
Yeah. And I haven't really shared my writing since I was like 12. So it's like healing my inner child. So you guys ready? Okay. Okay. Interior grocery store day. We hear shopping carts filing in and out of aisles. Beats of cashier registers and the distinct sound and chatter of children requesting anything their bright eyes can catch sight of. A woman, 34, holding the hand of a small boy in pajamas with slippers, 4. They are moving hastily as she adjusts the sunglasses on her face before looking intently at their surroundings. Grabbing all hygiene products last minute, her basket weighs heavy on one side while hobbling through the aisles and gripping the boy's arm to move along. His eyes catch sight of something and ask for a bag of marshmallows, pulling the bag over his eyes convincingly.
Can we buy the...
No, put it down. We aren't here for that.
The boy's tantrum ensues. Throwing his body onto the shelf, the woman grips his arm and pulls him along. Gathering herself to finish up is when almost immediately the loud and piercing sounds of the known distress of an Amber Alert blare through the store aisles. The boy's cries never stopped as her eyes quickly looked around. Moments later, bystander 1, looking at his phone and then at the pair. Wait a minute. Exterior, interior, parking lot / car, day. Woman is seen running out and dragging the screaming boy through the parking lot as he thrashes about fiercely, her fingers sweating, fumbling through the set of keys. Cut to, and then in one swift motion, she has reversed the car speeding off the lot and onto the highway. Her eyes looking through the rearview mirror in relief. Nothing there. Hot tears swell her eyes and gloss her vision. She snatches off her sunglasses to reveal a swollen and black and blue left eye.
The boy's cries never stopped as the sirens drew in closer to them. Then in the same rearview mirror, she reaches for her chest. It's tightening. Her eyes look in the mirror. She takes a look at him, a real good look.
He can't have him. He's mine. I'm sick of this shit.
Her eyes choke the leather of the steering wheel. Her hands choke the leather of the steering wheel, her eyes scanning as fast as they can see. Exits are lining up with traffic. She catches a glance of a bridge, her foot full planted on the gas pedal. Not knowing if it was water or another highway underneath, her face drenched with tears, the boy's cries turned from tantrum to fully terrified screams.
Mommy loves you, baby. I love you so much.
Scared and crying, clinging to his booster seat.
Mommy, please.
Woman screams in agonizing rage as the car flies over the highway's edge. Exterior highway day. Sirens could be heard. Smoke and fire could be seen and smelled. There are faded out screams in the distance. A vehicle crashed off the highway. Only the left tail light can be seen blinking with broken glass. A marshmallow bag is seen lying outside the crash site.
Sigourney. My name is Dwayne Horton, and this is a show that I'm writing called Out of Stock. Exterior, day, somewhere magical, somewhere liminal, somewhere far off. There's magic in the air, we can see it. Its flowing is the same kind of flowing we'd see a dandelion seed take in the air in abundance. The seeds blow and blow. We follow the trail of one seed that floats and finds itself in a busy city. A bus moves past. Gerald gets off the bus. The dandelion seed lands on Gerald's shoulder, unmoving. Gerald, early 30s, with book bag on, determination in eyes, patterned pants, white button down, walks into a busy retail store. Interior, retail store, busy city. The retail store is popular and carries all the latest fashion items. The racks are tall, the shelves go high. Many people walk in and out. The line at the register is long. There is an upstairs, a downstairs, a main floor, and a stockroom. Gerald enters, not confident, but relieved to have made it to his destination.
You're late.
Vivian, dressed sharply, is beautiful, looks timeless, rolls her eyes, and Gerald smiles awkwardly back at her. She gives him a look up and down.
And you're not in uniform.
Vivian pops the gum in her mouth. There is no uniform. She means she hates his outfit. She notices the dandelion seed still perched on his shoulder like a blown kiss and brushes it off of him.
We have a customer here who's asking for the loose fit pant in purple.
Vivian looks him up and down in deep disapproval.
Trisha wants you to go to the stock room and see if there's any left.
Vivian pivots quickly, leaving him in her dust. Claudia, undefined age, looks to be in her late 20s but feels much older, a co-worker who has a wonderfully eclectic style and is wearing a green skirt with dandelions embroidered on the garment, watches from behind a rack and approaches.
Will you always be late?
Sorry.
Gerald sighs out loudly. He was headed to the stockroom anyways to put down his book bag and put on his work lanyard.
Will you always be late?
Not you two.
I'm just joking.
She flashes a wide smile and bumps him with her elbow. Claudia looks at his outfit.
Oh, nice fit. Thank goodness we don't have to wear uniforms, huh?
Gerald smiles warmly.
Thank you.
Did you see the dandelion field today?
The what?
Gerald looks at her skirt as the dandelions in her skirt start to move. They float from her dress for a moment before returning back to place.
The field.
Images flash in his mind. A sunny, grassy, hilly field with thousands of dandelions and dandelion seeds blow in the distance. There's a house amongst tall blades of grass. The house has a feeling. Gerald begins to look disoriented.
Never mind.
Claudia waves her hands in his face.
Stockroom, right?
Yeah.
Almost as if he is in a daze, Gerald heads down to the stockroom. Claudia watches him go, almost as if she worries for him before turning around and returning to her duties, restocking a particularly tall rack with medium-sized yellow blouses. A customer approaches her to ask her a question.
My name is Jocelyn, and this is the opening for Bad Business. Over black.
If I was still in the business of directing, I might have said this whole thing with a bit more poetry. Something like,
Exterior, a tree-lined residential street in North Oakland. Eli Cruz Clark descends the steps of his family home looking fly as fuck. The bro is throwing oversized Wrangler denim in a light wash, and yes, that off-white varsity jacket he was too cheap to buy for real. Not yet 30, but with a marked slump to his shoulders to signal that he's been through it. The sun is setting or rising, doesn't matter as long as it's all gold. We follow Eli a convenient 4 strides to a blue USPS drop box where he pauses to dig an envelope out of his overpriced jacket. In slow motion, he licks the adhesive to seal it shut. Overjoyed by Stevie Wonder begins playing on the perfect April or late October breeze, either's fine. As he slips the envelope past the creaking slot of the postal box, we can see it marked as the end. Eli is walking off down the street into the sunrise or sunset before the box even slams closed. He puts a fist in the air and whoops, just as the screen fades to black and the credits start to roll.
but I'm retired, and this wasn't the end.
Interior, formerly Charlene Cruz Clark's high school bedroom, now Eli Cruz Clark's quarter-life crisis bedroom. Eli is silhouetted against the white glow of a computer monitor. His hair radiates around his head in a nearly sentient cloud of curls that animates even with the minute movements of his eyes tracking the words on the screen. The hollow click of the mouse is the only disturbance to the morning's pre-dawn blue. Click, 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 click. Insert screen, a message from payoff.com. Oh, I'll read it. Hi, Eli, your payment of all you got was successful. Your remaining karmic balance is pretty much a wash. You will receive an email in 1 to 2 weeks certifying that your guilty conscience is now free and clear. His eyes narrow. The message reflects back in the glassy surface of his retinas. He blinks and it rearranges itself. Your remaining balance is 0 of $28,000. You will receive an email in 1 to 2 weeks certifying that your personal loan is paid off. The cursor tracks slowly to the OK button. Then it's gone, like it never happened at all.
Anak, wake up your brother.
Eli shoves back from the desk and stretches long, yawns. He stands and makes his way towards the quiet clanging now emanating from beyond his door, pausing in the threshold to spare himself a brief fist in the air. Ceremony for one.
Hello, I'm Waverly Chow Scott, and today I'm going to read an abridged excerpt of my opening scene. Working title is Take Flight. I'm gonna over black, the hum of cicadas thick in the air. Exterior, top of hill, cemetery grounds, day. It is dawn. A grasshopper hops along a dirt path, its destination unclear. It hops into the grass, blending in, as if vanishing into the air. Suddenly, it hops onto a brightly colored structure. What appears to be a small house is actually a traditional Taiwanese family tomb. Then a series of shots. Few flowers and vases, countless plates piled up with oranges and tropical fruits. Short metal bins tarnished black from frequent use, littered with the remains of ashy joss paper money, and everywhere adorning each tomb short stubs of incense. Exterior, crowded street, Taipei, day. Street vendors sell breakfast. Hordes of mopeds rush around. The sound of ongoing traffic gets louder. Thank you, truck. The city is awakening. Super. The after, Taipei. Mr. Liu, late 40s, in a puffer vest despite the humidity, walks against pedestrian traffic. His steps are slow, even. Then, a sudden strong feeling. He turns around and spots a young woman. Her face blends in with the crowd, but something about the way she moves stands out. It's too opinionated. Exterior, storefront, street, bottom of hill, day. Mr. Liu turns and enters an alley lined with stores cramped from side to side. He rolls up his storefront door and turns on the light. He looks around. Only his store is open. Interior, cemetery store, day. Mr. Liu is surrounded by boxes filled with joss paper and cardboard offerings for the afterlife. He searches for something, but his motions are relaxed. Note that all dialogue in the following brackets is spoken in Mandarin Chinese with English subtitles.
Lotus flowers, gold ingots. Ayo, where did I put it? Where are the new cars? I thought I put them next to the electronics. Maybe next to the foreign currency? Or the new clothes?
Behind him, boxes and boxes stacked to the ceiling. Yet there is an order to the madness.
Ah, found it.
In his hands, a cardboard model of a Tesla in one and a BMW in the other. Exterior, storefront, street, day. In the distance, family tombs speckle the hill. It's deserted, but the hill breathes with energy like a giant sleeping tortoise. Grasshopper point of view, exterior, top of hill, day. The grasshopper perches atop a tomb, enjoying the view, when suddenly someone catches his eye. The grasshopper begins its descent, this time its direction clear. Nicole, mid-30s, uncomfortable in the humidity, walks up the path. She has no idea she is being observed. Exterior, storefront, day. Mr. Liu sips his tea, a book in his hand. His reading is interrupted when a drop of water wets the page. He looks up. He notices Nicole. His gaze lingers knowingly, suddenly tense. Yet he returns to his book. Reversed cut to Nicole is now only a few steps away, her face clear. Her face clear.
Hey, boss. Good morning.
Storefront owners are often referred to as boss to show respect. Nicole is not his employee, she is his customer. Mr. Liu looks up again, pensive. He's regained his composure. This time, he stares directly at the audience.
You've returned. Welcome back.
Thank you.